Good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 12 of the 31 Days of Monsters. Normally, we usually just start right in with a trailer, but this film that we're going to be talking about today doesn't really have a trailer. It was a BBC presentation from 1977 called Count Dracula, starring Louis Jourdan, and it's pretty magnificent. Since there is no trailer, but there is a sequence that if you've watched this movie, you'll never forget. So I'm just going to run that first, and then we'll get back and we'll talk about it a little bit about this.
Go on, you can go first. Me first. Will you? You have to ride? He's young, strong. When we're married, when we're married.
Oh, my dearest heart, I'd hate to go away like this.
I promise to study my shorthand so that I'll be able to do your letters when we're married. Married. When we're married. You'll write often.
Every day, Mina, I promise.
You'll write often. You'll write often. You'll write often.
The sound did not go out. Okay.
Don't touch him. Don't look at him. Leave him. Back. Back.
You never loved me. You never loved. You never loved.
Oh, yes, I have. Come. I need him for a while. Then you shall have him. He will be yours. All yours.
When we're married.
Just a moment's notice.
Now go. I must awaken him.
And tonight, you can give us nothing. Nothing?
Wow. That's pretty darn creepy. This movie has some very odd directorial and editorial choices that are in it, as you could see in some of the sequences where they cut away sound, they go to a black and white high contrast image with there's scenes with Louis Jourdan where like they just show you like the red in his eyes and his mouth and stuff. It's sort of odd, and it takes you out of it. But that criticism aside, this is probably the closest version of Dracula to Bram Stoker's book. They consolidate some characters in it, but the way the story is told, it's pretty darn close to the book, which is an excellent read, by the way. Unlike Frankenstein, which is I still have not gotten through that book. Frankenstein's my favorite movie monster, but as a book, that's a tough chew. Stoker's Dracula is a much better read. It's sort of like Pulp Fiction of its day. Louis Jourdan was an odd choice for this. I didn't see this when it first came out. I happened upon it much later. In fact, I probably saw it about 30 years ago, 25, 30 years ago. and forgotten about it. And then it came up when I was making up my list, and I was able to find it on Amazon Prime and watch it. It was originally broadcast in its entirety, but then when they rebroadcast it in 1979, they broke it up into 3 separate nights. And I think because of the pacing of this, it's an easier way to watch it. There's a lot of drag in here to get to really cool scenes. But Louis Jourdan, as I mentioned, was an odd choice, and yet he's so wonderful in this movie. He's so creepy. He's never really scary in the way that Christopher Lee was visceral, and you didn't want to run into Christopher Lee because you felt like he'd tear your head off and stuff like that. Jourdan is much more urbane, but there's a creepiness about him where you realize that this is some blood-sucking leech. One of the cool things they do in this too is they show the hair on his palms, and they don't make a big deal out of it, but they just show you like his hand up and stuff like that, and then you can see like this hair here, and he's got these really nasty fingernails, which is really, really cool. Another aspect, which I think it's a first, is oh wait, here we go. Here's the I don't know if you can see that real close, but right there is the hair on his palms, which Stoker describes, and those nasty fingernails. But look at how creepy he looks. I always like to show a poster. Obviously not as cool as the 1950s with painted posters, but this one's actually pretty cool. It has a comic book feel to it with a light burst behind him and the red eyes. In fact, that poster is taken from this sequence here where he actually looks up, where he's feasting on Lucy. This is a neat shot where the glare of the cross forms across his face. Here he is with those bloody eyes, which is really cool. I thought I had a shot of him. Where is that? Huh. Hold on a second. I got to dig this one up here. Just give me a second here. There it is. Hope it's worth it. Okay, it's not quite as big as I had hoped, but see if I can blow that up a little. No, that's the biggest one I can find right now. But this is the first time we ever see Dracula climbing a wall, climbing upside down. He's actually climbing down a wall. He's defying gravity. And right here, up in the upper right-hand corner is Jonathan Harker looking out the window, looking down at him. And obviously they filmed this thing, with the camera down on the ground, looking up with a fake perspective. And he'd like leap kind of. It was very creepy and very cool. And 2 years later in the Frank Langella version, they do the same sequence where Dracula is climbing up a wall. And that's the first time I saw it in the Langella one, because I'd seen that one first before I'd seen this. And I thought that was really, really cool. And then I saw it in this one. I was like, oh, so that's where the first time they did it. So you should watch this. This is on Amazon Prime. Give yourself some time. You have to chew through some slow parts, but there's great imagery. Louis Jourdan is fantastic. Oh, I forgot to talk about Frank Finlay, because Frank Finlay, great British stage, television, and movie actor, is in this as Van Helsing, and in my opinion, he's the greatest Van Helsing ever. There's something about his portrayal that's so human, that there's no what's the word I'm looking for? It's not comic booky. It's not a stereotype, I guess is what I was looking for. Frank Finlay, when he's talking with Mina, because he's coming to examine her and figure out what's going on, and he knows, we know that he knows what's going on, but the way he relates to her is so sweet and nice, and human in such a way that I've never seen the character portrayed that way. He's really, really great. So it's worth it just for to watch Frank Finlay. He doesn't show up till much later in the film, but you've got Louis Jourdan to get you through it. So this is as far as Dracula movies go, this one's good. It's not the best, but it is the closest to the book, and that's not why it's not the best. It's just that directorial choices and editorial choices sort of hamper this one a little bit, but it's definitely worth the watch because it is very different than every other one. The 70s gave rise to quite a few vampire films. You had television ones too, because you had the Dan Curtis Dracula with Jack Palance, who Gene Colan modeled his Dracula after for Tomb of Dracula. And Jack Palance was an excellent Dracula. You want to talk about a feral Dracula, the same way that Christopher Lee was. Jack Palance had a creepy factor, and he had the physical presence because Palance was a big man, and he was really into that role too. Then you had the two Blackula films, the blaxploitation ones, which I love. Those are a lot of fun. And then this one, and then you had the Frank Langella one, and then you had some Dracula knockoffs too, like Count Yorga. So the 70s was like a really, really big Dracula / vampire era. So speaking of the undead, tomorrow we're going to do, let's see, where are we? This little scene film from 1981, Ghost Story. It's based on the best-selling Peter Straub book. And I haven't seen this in a long time, probably not since 1981 or so. But I'm going to rent it today and watch it. I remember liking it. I remember it was creepy. Look at that cast. It's a who's who of 30s and 40s actors. Fred Astaire, Melvin Douglas, Douglas Fairbanks Jr., and John Houseman. Patricia Neal, and Alice Krieg early on in her career is in this. So if you haven't watched this, try and check it out for tomorrow, because this is a creepy film. I love that poster too. It's that negative space. It just draws me into it. This I don't know where you can watch this for free, but you can rent it on Amazon Prime for like $3.99, something like that, which is what I'm going to do. I mean, I might, you know what? Let's take a look and see if it is available on YouTube. That way, maybe you can watch it for free. Okay, you can rent it on YouTube. Yeah, it looks like you can. If you want to catch it, you're gonna have to rent it. But you know, it doesn't. It's $3.99, something like that. So it's worth it. Just so you're up to snuff for tomorrow's show. All right, let's say good morning to everybody. Monster Fan, good morning. Monster Fan says, I saw this on PBS when it first came out and loved it. Frank Finlay is great as always. Couldn't agree more. Devil Flyer is here. Some vampire goodness. Raven Saber, good morning. Man of War 665, Neighbor of the Beast is here. Fearless Freep, good morning. Hyper Kaiju, good morning. JP Roca asks daily, what's good? North Free, good morning. North Free says, Christopher Lee, Franklin Jello, Bela Lugosi. I thought I've seen all the classic Draculas. This one any good in comparison? Well, we've just gone over that. So yeah, it stands up. It's good. It's not the best, but there's some great stuff in it. Definitely. You know, it doesn't have the budget that like the Franklin Jella one had a couple of years later, which was a big budget version. And I really like that one. It's got a great John Williams score, some great creepy scenes, some great makeup effects. And Franklin Jell is very imposing. He's a little too, pretty boy with that hair, because he's coming off the stage play version. But he's very imposing. He's a big man too, and he has a commanding presence. And when he walks into a room, he owns the room, which is really cool. Judy Bowker as Mina also played Andromeda in Graham's other favorite film. Boy, nobody's going to let me forget that I didn't like Clash of the Titans. Good Lord. The chat never forgets. That should be the tag phrase for the chat. The chat never forgets. Devil Flyer says, speaking of Louis Jourdan, he was later Arcane in the Swamp Thing movie. Yeah, he was a Bond villain in Octopussy. I loved him at that. He's so urbane. Octopussy. Oh, Octopussy. Every time he said Octopussy, it cracked me up. Harry Palms, cool detail. One must leave out because it doesn't make Dracula sexy. I don't think Dracula should be sexy. I mean, the only time that they ever did the reverse aging, which is part of the book of Dracula, was in the Francis Ford Coppola version, which I have yet to get through. That's one of those ones where, I want to watch it and I'm just, I can't get through that movie. I'm going to have to try it again and try and get past. It seems like I have to tap out right around the same point in this thing. But, and they take liberties all over the place in that one too. JP Roca says, that's what she said. Devil Flyer, you can rewatch this on Amazon Prime for free. It's streaming there. Pop Culture Avenger, good morning, Graham. Hello, all. Sorry, I'm late. Just got back from some racist bird watching. Did you not feel safe while you were bird watching? Yeah, on the Comicsgate Kings last night, we were talking about how SJWs have infiltrated bird watching. It's a crazy, crazy world. Frakoff Felger Carb is here. I always mess that up. And I know it's a reference from Battlestar Galactica, but George Travelos is here. Good morning, George. Jack Palance played Count Dracula in a TV movie. Yeah, that's one of the Dan Curtis ones. Dan Curtis did. Oh, I think we're about to have a pumpkin visit. Hello, pumpkin. Hello. Do you want to say hello to everybody? Oh, there we go. Oh, say hello. There's the real horror right there. Dark Shadows was Dan Curtis's show, and then he also did a couple of those TV movies. He did a few Dark Shadows films, and then he did Dracula and the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde also with Jack Palance. I haven't seen that one. I haven't seen the Jekyll and Hyde one, but I did see the Palance one when it aired on TV, and it was the first time I hadn't seen the Christopher Lee ones. It's the first time I ever saw Dracula like kicking ass, and he's going up those stairs and he's just throwing dudes, with that super strength of his, just I'd never seen that before. I was like, wow. What was I? 1974. 12. What about Kolchak the Night Stalker? Well, yeah. As far as like the 70s being vampires, yeah, the Night Stalker TV film. That was great. And then the TV series too, which is coming out on Blu-ray this month. North Free's a fan of the Coppola Dracula. Pretty close to the book, a modern classic for sure. Well, maybe, but I haven't been able to get through it. JP Roca, where can Ghost Story be found? Well, it could be found on Amazon Prime for a $3.99 rental. Also on YouTube, it could be rented too. If any of you guys that find it for free, post it in the chat. But I haven't. Oh, Man of War 665, Neighbor of the Beast. Thank you for the $6.65 super chat. That's a good cigar. Hey, that sounded pretty good, right? We worked that in there. Thanks again for these, Graham. You twisted my arm, ordered my t-shirt yesterday. Remember, folks, slap that like it owes you money. Well, thank you, brother. I appreciate your support of Alien Alamo and of your super chat as well. Yeah, if any of you guys haven't backed Alien Alamo, please consider doing that. I have these limited edition t-shirts that are really cool that have been designed specifically for this campaign. I'm going to be ordering them next week, so you've got 1 week to get in on those because they're coming down off the campaign. So check them out and support Alien Alamo. Mona and Dr. Mass Retro Elixir. Yeah, I saw the pic of Superman kissing a pink-haired man. Yeah. I was talking about that with my wife this morning. John Houseman made his money the old-fashioned way. He earned it. That's referring to the commercials that Houseman did for, what was the name of that investment firm? It wasn't Merrill Lynch, was it? I can't remember. A long time ago, but yeah. Whenever I see John Houseman, I think of him doing that too. Houseman was also in another great sci-fi movie or horror movie, The Fog, John Carpenter's The Fog, which I believe I did last year. And Alice Krieg played the Borg Queen, yeah. Morning, Don Perkage. Ghost Story, yeah, a lot of people haven't heard of that. It was a very popular book by Peter Straub, and he and Stephen King had worked together writing a couple, co-authoring a couple books back then, early 80s. And it's a creepy story. Okay, my chat just jumped again. Here we go. Okay. All right, Hyper Kaiji did his homework. He said it looks like it's only on Prime. Okay. It's also on YouTube, but it's like YouTube TV that you have to rent it. So either way, I think you're going to have to rent it. But $3.99. So what? Devilfly says his first comic mag, Vampire Tales #5, had Count Yorga reviewing it, plus Morbius Origin reprinted. Oh, cool. Yeah, I love those old monster mags. They tapped into all different kinds of pop culture stuff, like comics and movies. Pedro Ang says, good morning, Comics Gig. Good morning, Graham. Good morning, Pedro. Thanks for stopping in this morning. Devilfly was a monster kid before he got into comics. Not a big leap. Hey, that's my origin story, too. Same as me. The Monster Times was my Bible. Used to come out like every week or every other week, something like that. And it was formatted like a newspaper. So, Dad's reading the New York Times and I'm reading the Monster Times. Dr. Mass says, and I think he's referring to the Coppola film, I will say there was a good amount of women moaning in it. If I wasn't watching, I would have thought parts of it were a porno. Well, now you've got my interest. Hello, Leroy. I hope George didn't forget to drink his Ovaltine this morning. Devilfly says Lugosi wasn't the lead monster in his time, but vampires have ruled since, no doubt. Oh, yeah, well, it goes back further than Lugosi. You got to go back to Nosferatu in the 1920s, the bootleg version of Dracula. Lugosi could have been the leading monster of his time if he didn't turn down Frankenstein. Bad choice. Gave rise to Boris Karloff, who became the leading monster actor. North Freeze talking about the dinosaur bird that we were talking about last night on the Comics Gate Kings. LOL, Death Stare Machine Gun Noise Bird. He's got like this big fat, like wooden looking like beak, and he can make this clicking noise with it. It sounded like a machine gun, like dot, 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 dot. You guys saw the video of me shooting the 50 cal. That's what it sounded like. Dark Shadows was great after school. Creepy, creepy show. Sunny Delight is the new Tang. Okay. Oh, I'm just catching up because Dr. Mask's referencing the pumpkin sighting. R. Enosh says, I enjoyed this movie more than Christopher Lee's Dracula and Son from 1976. Yeah, Christopher Lee also did one called Count Dracula in the 70s, and it wasn't part of the Hammer line. And Lee insisted that he wear the mustache the way that Bram Stoker described him. I haven't seen that one. If any of you have seen it, let me know what your thoughts are on it. Always North Free, always. Alien Alamo is 59 pages now, 48 pages plus 8-page backup story plus 3 bonus pages. Is that right? No, it is 59 pages of story and 4 pages of, not all 4 pages will be backstory stuff, like designs, elements, stuff like that. There might be some other stuff in there as well. But the bottom line is it's 59 pages of story. Solid story. It's not a backup story like there was in the Chinook. Denver Flyer said it was E.F. Hutton. That I don't think it was E.F. Hutton. E.F. Hutton was, when E.F. Hutton talks, everyone listens. So I don't think that's correct. George says it's Smith Barney was the Houseman commercials. Smith Barney. That doesn't sound right either. Skull Gnasher. The Fog is great. It's one of my favorite Carpenter films. Agreed, Mr. Von Stogie or Stogel. Hellions on Parade. The Fog remake is unwatchable. It is. It's terrible. It's got that guy from Smallville, the guy who played Superman. Can't remember his name now, but yeah, it was horrible. North Free says Carpenter and Hitchcock are the greatest horror masters. The difference between the two is Hitchcock created characters you care about. And most of Carpenter's films have characters you don't care about, which is my biggest beef with Carpenter. Although I do like a lot of his movies, but if you could just get that part down. Burnt Offerings, another good TV horror movie. Ooh, Pop Culture Avenger has the first edition hardcover of Ghost Story by Straub. It's a good read. I haven't read the book, but Pop Culture Avenger says it's good. Cigar Gangster. Christopher Lee's version of Dracula used to creep me out. Well done. We need another Forrest Ackerman to make those magazines. We need more people like all of us to buy those magazines, because if there was more of us buying those things, somebody would make them. Excuse me. Rick Saylor is here. Good morning. Some folks going on about the remake of The Fog. Universal dislike is all I'll say. George has hit me with the hammer. He says, "Don't doubt me, Graham. It was Smith Barney." Okay. And then Leroy says, "Oh boy, Nolan just told George he is wrong. This is going to ruin George's day." No, I think he'll get over it. And it looks like I was wrong. He says it's Smith Barney. And Fearless Freep is confirming it. Just Googled it. John Houseman did a Smith Barney commercial. All right. There you go, George. I bow to your investment knowledge. I'm pacing around the house. I'm so upset. Graham doubted my trivia knowledge. Pop Culture Avenger, one Carpenter film that gets overlooked is Assault on Precinct 13 with Austin Stoker. One of Carpenter's earliest films, and one of the first ones I ever saw, actually. Before there was HBO, there was a cable subscription called Cinema Plus that we used to get in Florida when cable was just becoming. Most people still had antennas, but Cinema Plus was the modern what became HBO. But anyway, they used to show Assault on Precinct 13 all the time on that. Okay, I think we've talked George off the ledge, which is good. Dr. Mask's Retro Elixir started watching Count Dracula's Great Love, the Elvira version. She is great. The movie is terrible, but she is great. Sandra Peterson. Anne Rice destroyed vampires. Lestat was a soy vampire. But he didn't sparkle, so there's that. First couple Underworld movies were great. The prequel was even tolerable. Yeah, the guy who wrote those, Kevin Grievous, is writing a story for My Giant-Sized Two-Fisted Manly Tales, utilizing one of his Underworld characters. So that's going to be cool. All right, gang. I think I've gone through the chat list here. So tomorrow, get out that credit card and rent Ghost Story from 1981, either on Amazon Prime or on YouTube. And we'll be talking about that tomorrow morning at the same bat time, 8 o'clock in the morning. And until then, we shall see you at the movies, or the horror movies at least. Have a great one. Bye-bye now.